In a world full of cheerful TV celebrities, it's often overlooked that some of these talented actors and actresses have experienced real-life hardships. You may have watched them on your favorite TV shows, possibly even in the recent past. However, you might not know that many of these stars have encountered tragedies, including sudden deaths and struggles with addiction. Whether you admire their work or are simply interested in their personal lives, join us to discover the sad stories of some well-known Hollywood celebrities. Number 10. Johnny Depp. So, Johnny Depp, right? The guy's had quite the roller coaster of a life. Born in Kentucky in '63, this guy tried to make it as a musician after dropping out of high school. Played in a band called The Kids, which didn't really take off. He got married to Lori Ann Allison, but that ended in 2 years. However, it's Lori who introduced him to Nicolas Cage, which led him into acting. And then, finally, he gets his break in the horror flick A Nightmare on Elm Street. You remember that one, right? Freddy Krueger and all that jazz. Fast forward a few years and we see Depp hit teen idol status in 21 Jump Street. Not one to be typecast, Depp wasn't keen on sticking to the same old, same old. That's when he started working with Tim Burton. Together, they created some seriously out there characters. Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, and Ichabod Crane from Sleepy Hollow. Depp also worked with other innovative directors like Jim Jarmusch and Terry Gilliam, showcasing his acting chops in films like Donnie Brasco and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. But it's his portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean that truly catapulted him to superstar status. Sure, Depp had a few flops. Remember The Lone Ranger and Mordecai? His personal life was also a mess. He's had a string of relationships with high-profile celebs, ending with a tumultuous marriage to Amber Heard. And that's where the trouble really starts. Heard accuses Depp of domestic violence, with the nasty divorce in 2016 grabbing headlines. Depp, of course, denies it all and alleges Heard was after his money. Their divorce was finalized with a hefty $7 million settlement, but the saga doesn't end there. Heard penned an op-ed for the Washington Post in 2018, talking about surviving domestic abuse. Though she didn't name Depp, he took offense and sued her for defamation. However, Depp emerged victorious from the ashes of his defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard. The bitter court battle centered around an op-ed piece Heard penned for the Washington Post, subtly accusing Depp of domestic abuse. The jury validated Depp's claims, and he was awarded a staggering $10 million in damages. Heard's countersuit saw her partially vindicated, with Depp found guilty of defaming her in a statement made by his attorney. Nevertheless, Heard's compensation was just a shadow of Depp's, tallying at $2 million. The biggest blow came when Depp lost a libel case against the Sun newspaper. They had labeled him a wife-beater. The judge sided with the Sun, calling the allegations substantially true. This decision hit Depp's career hard. He was dropped from several big projects, including the Fantastic Beasts series and the Pirates reboot. It wasn't just legal troubles. Depp's finances were in a mess too. The guy's extravagant spending had become notorious. Islands, mansions, art, wine, you name it. Add to that, battles with former managers and lawyers over accusations of fraud and mismanagement. Things got even darker with Depp's admission of alcoholism and drug addiction. It's something he'd struggled with for most of his life, using substances to cope with fame and his personal woes. He tried to get help multiple times, but there were setbacks. So from fame to controversy, his life's had more twists and turns than a Hollywood movie. It's a real mix of impressive talent and shocking scandals. Only time will tell how this story ends. Number 9. Amber Heard. Speaking of Amber Heard, let's dive into her life. She's an American actress, born in Austin, Texas in 1986. Heard had a pretty strict Catholic upbringing, but turned atheist after losing her best friend in a car crash when she was 16. Can't say she was much of a rule follower, though. She dropped out of high school to chase a modeling career in New York, and then headed to LA with dreams of making it big in Hollywood. Her acting career kicked off in 2004 with a small role in Friday Night Lights. She went on to feature in a bunch of films and TV shows like Drop Dead Sexy, Criminal Minds, and The O.C. Got her big break as the lead in the horror film All the Boys Love, Mandy Lane, which premiered at the Toronto Film Fest in 2006, though it didn't hit the US until 2013. Heard really got noticed for her roles in movies like Pineapple Express, Never Back Down, and Zombieland. And then there's The Rum Diary, where she starred opposite none other than Johnny Depp. Sparks flew, and they started dating in 2012. They got hitched in 2015, but things went south real fast. In 2016, Heard filed for divorce, accusing Depp of physical and emotional abuse. Depp, of course, refuted the claims, suggesting she was just after his money. Their divorce was settled in 2017, with Heard pocketing $7 million, which she promised to donate to the ACLU and Children's Hospital LA. But the drama wasn't over. In 2018, Heard wrote an op-ed for The Washington Post, speaking out about her experience with domestic abuse. Heard hit back, countersuing Depp for a whopping $100 million. She claimed Depp hadn't paid the full donation amount from their divorce settlement and accused him of running a smear campaign against her. She also alleged he'd threatened to kill her on multiple occasions. The legal face-off, centered on defamation charges related to claims of domestic abuse, ended with a stunning blow to Heard. Despite her countersuit and accusations of abuse against Depp, the jury leaned towards Depp's side. They concluded that Heard's 2018 op-ed piece in The Washington Post had defamed Depp, costing him crucial acting roles. Heard was only partially vindicated for Depp's attorney's statements, and the compensation she received paled compared to Depp's. The trial concluded with Heard having to pay Depp a hefty $10 million. This legal tussle dealt a significant blow to Heard's public image and reputation, adding a tragic chapter to her life story. But amid all this chaos, Heard hasn't hung up her acting boots. She's been part of biggies like Justice League and Aquaman, and she's set to return for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. She's also appeared in films like The Danish Girl and Magic Mike XXL, and TV shows like Hidden Palms and The Stand. Not to mention, Heard's also a big-time activist. She volunteers as an artist ambassador for the ACLU and as a human rights ambassador for the UN. She's pretty vocal about issues like immigration, women's empowerment, LGBTQ+ rights, and climate change. And she's thrown her support behind charities like Amnesty International, Girl Up, and UNICEF USA. What the future holds for her is anyone's guess. Number 8, Kanye West. Moving on to another big name, Kanye West. Now, Kanye is a household name rapper, producer, fashion designer. The guy's got his fingers in many pies. Since his debut album, The College Dropout, in 2004, Kanye's been a major force in the music industry. He's won a staggering 24 Grammy Awards, collaborated with big shots like Jay-Z and Rihanna, and his music is all over the charts. But Kanye is also known for his outlandish personality, unique fashion sense, and of course, his highly publicized marriage to Kim Kardashian. However, the road hasn't been smooth for Kanye. There have been some significant controversies that have impacted his image and reputation. We mean, remember the MTV Video Music Awards in 2009? Taylor Swift was just getting her award for Best Female Video when Kanye decided to crash the stage and announced that Beyoncé should have won. Not his best moment. The fallout was pretty severe, and he had to apologize multiple times on different platforms. In 2013, Kanye was frustrated with Nike because he felt they only cared about his fame and not his ideas. So, he left and joined forces with Adidas to launch his Yeezy line. His album, Yeezy, released that year, had a pretty strong anti-establishment vibe. Then, after the 2016 US presidential election, Kanye shocked fans by openly supporting Donald Trump. He praised Trump's campaign as absolutely genius and flaunted a Make America Great Again hat. He also made some controversial comments about slavery being a choice for African Americans. Later, he even announced his own presidential bid. But that's not all. In 2016, Kanye had a mental breakdown and was hospitalized for psychiatric evaluation. He canceled the remaining dates of his St. Pablo tour, and there were reports about dehydration, exhaustion, paranoia, and depression. And who can forget the recent public and messy divorce from Kim Kardashian? The couple took to social media to air their dirty laundry, creating quite the stir. More recently, Kanye has stirred up trouble with some controversial comments during his presidential campaign. He made some statements that were seen as anti-Semitic, leading to a loss of sponsors like Adidas, Balenciaga, and Gap. Kanye's controversial views and actions, along with his personal struggles, have definitely affected his career and public image. Number 7, Keanu Reeves. Next up, we have another Hollywood A-lister, Keanu Reeves. Now, Keanu isn't just famous for playing Neo in The Matrix or the unstoppable John Wick. He's also known for having quite the tough life, full of all sorts of obstacles. Keanu's life story is one for the books. He was born in Beirut, Lebanon, and his dad split when he was just 3 years old. Growing up, Keanu and his mom moved around a lot, and he had to adjust to several stepfathers coming in and out of his life. He also battled dyslexia, which led him to drop out of high school. Then, there was the heartbreaking loss of his close friend and co-star River Phoenix, who tragically died from a drug overdose in 1993. Keanu was devastated by his death and ended up dedicating the film My Own Private Idaho to him. Life threw another curveball at Keanu in 1999 when his girlfriend, Jennifer Syme, gave birth to a stillborn baby. They broke up shortly after due to grief. To make things worse, Syme died in a car crash 2 years later. Keanu was deeply affected by these tragedies, and he was known to visit her grave often. And let's not forget about his on-set injuries and accidents. The guy broke his ankle filming The Matrix, cracked a couple of ribs shooting The Replacements, and even hurt his neck doing a stunt for Constantine. Off-set, he also had a motorcycle accident that led to a spleen surgery. On top of all these, Keanu has also had his share of weird incidents like being stalked, getting sued by a paparazzo, and having to fend off a load of false rumors about his personal life. But through all these, Keanu still managed to stay humble, kind, and ridiculously generous. He's donated millions to charities, especially those for cancer research and kids' hospitals. Plus, he's well known for giving part of his earnings to movie crews and buying them gifts. He's a real stand-up guy. Number 6. Matthew Morrison. Now, you probably remember Matthew Morrison as Mr. Chester from the hit show Glee, but unfortunately his career hasn't been all singing and dancing. First off, in 2010, there was this whole mess with his co-star Lea Michele, who played Rachel Berry on Glee. Lea called Morrison out for being rude and arrogant. She said he ignored her, made fun of her singing voice, and wasn't supportive. Lea did eventually say sorry, saying her remarks were taken out of context, but the damage was already done. Then there was the beef with actor Jonah Hill. Jonah claimed that Morrison mocked him at a party, making fun of his weight and career. He went as far as to call Morrison the biggest douchebag, and even wanted to fight him. Morrison said he didn't remember meeting Hill and even apologized if he'd offended him. Now, for Glee fans, you might remember Morrison's performance of the song What I Did for Love from a chorus line on the Glee Season 3 finale. Let's just say it didn't go over well. Fans and critics didn't think he captured the essence of the song, and some even called it the worst performance ever on the show. The year 2014 brought another headache for Morrison when his personal trainer Michael Stokes sued him for breach of contract and fraud. Stokes claimed Morrison hired him to get in shape for Glee, agreed to pay him $127,000, but then only gave him $29,000. Stokes also accused Morrison of lying about his income and assets and using his celeb status to intimidate him. The case eventually settled out of court in 2015. More recently, in 2022, Morrison lost his gig as a judge on So You Think You Can Dance. A female contestant claimed he sent her inappropriate messages. The producers investigated and decided to let him go. Morrison denied any wrongdoing and said he only sent a message out of professional respect. Whether he can bounce back from these scandals or if he'll fade into the background, only time will tell. Number 5. Jim Carrey. Let's hop over to another superstar, the one and only Jim Carrey. Now, when you think of Jim, you probably think of that rubber-faced guy from movies like Ace Ventura and The Mask. But behind those laughs, Jim had to deal with his fair share of trials and tribulations. When he was only 15, his dad lost his job and the family was forced to live in a camper van. Jim dropped out of high school and worked as a janitor to help support his family. During this time, he also started doing stand-up at local clubs with the hope of making it big in show business. This period in his life was incredibly stressful, and he often talks about how he felt like he didn't really have a childhood. Fast forward to 1983, Jim packed his bags and moved to LA to pursue his comedy career. He got a spot on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and wowed the host with his spot-on impressions of celebrities. He did some movies and TV shows, but his big break didn't come until 1990 when he joined the sketch comedy show In Living Color. 1994 was a huge year for Jim. He starred in 3 hit movies: Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. He went from an unknown to one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. And he didn't just stick to comedy. He took on serious roles like Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, Truman Burbank in The Truman Show, and Joel Barish in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But it hasn't been all smooth sailing. Jim's personal life has seen its fair share of ups and downs. He married actress Melissa Womer in 1974, and they had a daughter, Jane. but they divorced in 1995. He was then married to actress Lauren Holly for less than a year. He also had high-profile relationships with Renee Zellweger and Jenny McCarthy. In a tragic turn of events, his ex-girlfriend Catriona White took her life in 2015, and her family sued Jim, accusing him of giving her sexually transmitted diseases and supplying her with the drugs that resulted in her death. The case was dismissed in 2018, but it surely took a toll on him emotionally and on his career as well. Number 4. Will Smith. Born and raised in Philly, Will Smith started out as one half of the Grammy-winning rap duo DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince in the mid-1980s. But his life wasn't always glitz and glam, you know? When he was just a kid, he saw some pretty nasty stuff at home, with his dad physically and verbally abusing his mom. It left him deeply traumatized, and he even confessed that he thought about taking the life of his father when his dad was battling cancer. From rap, Will made the jump to TV, starring in the sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was a kinda sorta take on his own life. The show was a huge hit and made him a household name. After that, he moved on to the big screen, and boy, he totally nailed it. You might remember him from movies like Bad Boys, Men in Black, and I Am Legend, and he's been nominated for an Oscar a couple of times. In his personal life, Will got married to Cherie Zampino in 1992, and they had a son named Trey. They split in 1995, and he then tied the knot with Jada Pinkett in 1997. They have 2 kids, Jaden and Willow, who've also made their mark in showbiz. Now, Will and Jada have had their share of ups and downs, rumors, and controversies. One of the biggest shockers was when they confessed on their show Red Table Talk that they had separated for a while, and during that time, Jada had an affair with singer August Alsina. Let's not forget, Will has also had some run-ins with the law. Back in '89, he was arrested for reportedly assaulting a record promoter. Even though he spent a night in jail, the charges were later dropped. Also, he had a fallout with his Fresh Prince co-star Janet Hubert, which was pretty public and messy. In 2015, Will and Jada decided to boycott the Oscars over the lack of diversity among the nominees, which stirred up quite a controversy. Fast forward to 2022, and Will won his first Oscar for his role in King Richard. But the night was not without drama. He ended up slapping comedian Chris Rock on stage over a joke about Jada's shaved head due to her struggle with alopecia. He apologized to Rock in the Academy later, but it sure did raise quite a few eyebrows. Number 3. Alan Rickman. Let's shift the spotlight now to an actor who had a distinct voice and a flair for playing brooding, complex characters. None other than Alan Rickman. You might know him best as Hans Gruber, the baddie in Die Hard, or as our favorite misunderstood professor, Severus Snape, in the Harry Potter series. And let's not forget his romantic avatar as Colonel Brandon in Sense and Sensibility. Plus, he donned the director's hat for The Winter Guest, which earned quite a bit of critical acclaim. But let me tell you, Alan's journey in showbiz wasn't all smooth sailing. He wasn't exactly thrilled about all his roles. Case in point, he felt that Snape was underwritten, and the filmmakers didn't quite appreciate the depth of his character. And it wasn't just the roles. Alan had his fair share of creative differences with directors as well. Remember Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Yes, so Alan had a major role in that, but many of his scenes were chopped off. And then there was Tim Burton, who modified his voice in Alice in Wonderland, another thing Alan wasn't too happy about. And remember that play he co-edited and directed, My Name is Rachel Corrie? Yeah, that one stirred up a bit of controversy, with some critics labeling it as anti-Semitic. Alan lost his father pretty young when he was just 8, leaving his mom to raise him and his 3 siblings. He found love with Rima Horton, and they were together for a whopping 40 years before tying the knot in 2012. They didn't have any kids of their own, but Alan was pretty close to his nieces and nephews. Life threw a curveball at Alan in 2015 when he suffered a minor stroke that led to the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. He kept his illness a secret, only letting his closest friends and family in. Sadly, he passed away on 14 January 2016 at the age of 69, leaving a massive void in the hearts of fans and fellow artists alike. Number 2. Tom Cruise. With his killer roles in the Mission Impossible franchise, Top Gun, Jerry Maguire, A Few Good Men, and so many more, Tom Cruise has pretty much solidified his spot as one of the most successful actors around. He's been up for an Oscar 4 times and taken home the Golden Globe thrice. But it's not all rosy. His association with the Church of Scientology has stirred up its fair share of controversy. Let's dive into some of the moments in Tom's life that have raised more than a few eyebrows. Starting with an episode from 1999 when he was on The Late Show with David Letterman. Cruise narrated a tale of how he, in his own private plane, deprived a passenger of oxygen, causing him to pass out. What was more shocking was how he laughed about it, leaving Letterman and the audience feeling a little uneasy. Fast forward to 2005, and we have the infamous couch-jumping incident on The Oprah Winfrey Show. Cruise was there to talk about his love for Katie Holmes, and boy, did he show it. Jumping up and down on the couch like a teenager, it left people questioning his behavior. And then, the same year, he picked a fight with Brooke Shields over the use of antidepressants for postpartum depression. He went on to label psychiatry a pseudoscience in a heated debate with Matt Lauer on The Today Show. It was 2008 next, and a promotional video for Scientology featuring Cruise went public. The video, filled with jargon and Cruise's passionate talk about his beliefs, seemed bizarre to most people and quickly became an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons. Fast forward a few more years to 2012, and Cruise and Katie Holmes were getting a divorce, sparking rumors that Holmes wanted to shield their daughter Suri from Scientology. Holmes ended up with primary custody of Suri, and it's speculated that Cruise's relationship with his daughter has been rocky since. As if that wasn't enough, in 2015, 2 pilots tragically died, and 1 was injured in a plane crash during the production of Cruise's film American Made. The families of the deceased pilots accused Cruise and director Doug Liman of negligence and creating pressure for dangerous stunts. Cruise wasn't directly named in the lawsuit, but his piloting skills were questioned. And then came 2020. Cruise made headlines for losing his cool with the crew members on the set of Mission Impossible 7 for not following COVID-19 safety protocols. He went off on a rant saying he would fire anyone not adhering to the rules. Some praised him for his stern stand, while others criticized him for his harsh approach. Number 1. Terence Howard. So, you know that guy from Empire and Hustle and Flow, right? Yep, you've got it. We are talking about Terence Howard, a big name in Hollywood for sure, but his life story is one heck of a roller coaster ride. Howard was born in Chicago, Illinois on March 11, 1969. His parents, Tyrone and Anita Howard, were biracial and sadly abusive. His childhood was far from typical. He saw his father stab a man to death when he was just 2 years old. Can you imagine the kind of impact that would have on a kid? He was also targeted and bullied because of his skin color. To protect himself, he learned to box. His acting bug bit him early, and he credits his great-grandmother Minnie Gentry, a stage actress in New York, for inspiring him. Howard stepped into showbiz in the early 90s, making appearances in The Jacksons, An American Dream, and Family Matters. But his breakthrough came with Dead Presidents, The Best Man, Ray, Crash, and Hustle and Flow. The last one even got him an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. You might also remember him as James Rhodey Rhodes from the first Iron Man movie, although Don Cheadle took over the role in the sequel. But his life isn't all glitz and glamour. The Santa Line slaying in 1971 was one of the defining moments in Howard's life. His father stabbed a man named John Fitzgerald during a department store squabble in Cleveland, Ohio. The argument was over who was next in line to see Santa Claus. His dad was convicted of manslaughter and spent 11 months in prison. Howard, who was right there when the incident happened, says that it's shaped his personality and made him wary of people. Then there was the Iron Man feud. After playing Rhodey in the first Iron Man film in 2008, Howard was looking forward to reprising his role in the sequel. He got a rude shock when Marvel Studios decided to cut his salary by 80% and offered him a smaller part. He was particularly upset with co-star Robert Downey Jr. for not defending him. Howard felt that Downey had chosen money over friendship. He also accused Marvel of being racist and greedy. Upset and hurt, he refused to accept the offer and was replaced by Don Cheadle. The next chapter in Howard's life revolves around Michelle Gent, a commercial production employee. They tied the knot in 2010, but things turned sour within a year. During their divorce proceedings, Gent accused Howard of physical abuse during and after their marriage. She got a restraining order against him and sued him for assault, emotional distress, and defamation. Howard denied the accusations and alleged that Gent was trying to extort money from him. The whole saga ended in 2015. The same year, Howard started as Lucius Lyon in the hit TV series Empire. Despite the show's success, it brought another legal hassle for Howard. His former management company, Authentic Talent and Literary Management, aka ATLM, claimed that he owed them 10% of his earnings from the show. Howard's defense was that he never signed a contract with ATLM, and they had coerced him into working with them by threatening to expose his personal issues. The case went to trial in 2019, with the verdict favoring ATLM. The man's incredibly talented, there's no denying that, but his personal struggles and public scandals have often overshadowed his professional achievements. Which one of these broke your heart or made you gasp? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next one.